You have someone on your team who's brilliant. You notice it from the first week. The clarity in their answers, the ease with which they solve problems that take others hours. Their reports are flawless. Their projects always exceed expectations. You don't even have to remind them of deadlines. They simply deliver. You admire them, and quietly, you rely on them more than you realize. But there's one thing about them that keeps unsettling you. They are almost always late. At first, it seems harmless. Maybe traffic, maybe habit, but days turn into weeks and the pattern never changes. 9 a.m. meetings begin without them. 11 passes. Around noon, they walk in. Calm, unbothered, polite. They greet everyone softly, sit down, and begin working like time itself bends for them. And strangely, it does. Because no matter how late they arrive, the work is always finished, perfectly. You tell yourself it's fine. After all, results matter. You have bigger fires to fight than punctuality. But then one morning you notice the empty chair again. Sunlight spills across the desk, catching the dust in the air. And for a moment that small silence bothers you more than it should. You look around. Everyone else is here, focused, moving. The office hums like a machine. That empty chair feels like static in a song. You try to ignore it, but leadership has a way of magnifying what others overlook. You start thinking about fairness, about consistency. Is it right that one person gets to rewrite the rhythm that everyone else follows? Or are you punishing excellence for being different? You wrestle with it quietly. No one says anything, but you can feel the tension, those subtle glances, the quiet jokes. The late genius, they call them, half with respect, half resentment. And maybe that's what bothers you most. Greatness can inspire, but it can also divide. You remember how you were taught to lead. Rules build trust, structure creates safety. People show up, they stay, they leave. The order keeps chaos at bay. Yet here you are, watching someone defy the rule, and somehow the world doesn't collapse. The numbers still rise, the projects still shine, and the only thing breaking down is your sense of control. You start to wonder if punctuality is just an illusion of discipline, a relic from another age. Maybe real discipline is showing up fully, not merely showing up on time. Still, the doubt lingers. You imagine the conversation you might have with them, how you'd phrase it, calm but firm. I need you to respect the hours. But even in your imagination, they look at you with quiet confidence and say, I do respect them. I just use them differently. So you wait, you watch, days pass, nights blur. You notice how they stay late, how the office empties, the lights dim, and they're still there, working by the faint glow of the screen. You leave before them sometimes. Once you forgot something and came back an hour later. The office silent, the city outside shimmering through glass, and they were still typing, headphones on, lost in a world of focus. You stood there for a moment, not wanting to interrupt. It looked like peace, and maybe that's the problem. Their chaos feels like your peace undone. Weeks later, the whispers get louder. Another employee starts showing up late, using the same excuse. If they can, why can't we? You sense the balance tilting. Performance versus presence, freedom versus fairness. You could call it management, but it feels more like morality. You can forgive mistakes easier than inconsistency. At least mistakes are honest. Lateness, though, it feels like defiance, even when it's not meant to be. You catch yourself thinking, if everyone did this, what would happen? And then you realize the truth. Everyone won't. Most people don't want freedom. They want clarity. It's the few who challenge the rules that test whether they still make sense. You decide to confront it, not with anger, but with curiosity. You ask them to stay after a meeting, the others leave, the office quiets. They look at you expectantly. You say, you know you're great at what you do. They smile, humble. You continue, but you're often late. Help me understand why. They pause. Not defensive, just thoughtful. Then they say, I work late, I sleep late. My focus starts when the world slows down. I don't mean disrespect. I just work differently. Their honesty disarms you. There's no arrogance, no excuse, just truth. You nod. But it affects the team, you say. People notice. They nod too, and there's a silence that feels heavier than reprimand. Finally, you add, "We need rhythm." They reply softly, "Then maybe the rhythm needs more instruments." You laugh, not because it's funny, but because it's true. You let them go. The next morning, they're late again. You expected that. What you didn't expect was how the conversation lingers in your mind. You think about systems, about how every rule was created for a reason, and yet every evolution began with someone breaking one. The clock was never moral. It was just a tool to synchronize human chaos. Somewhere along the way, it became sacred. Days turn into months. The pattern stays. They continue to deliver beyond expectation, while others hover somewhere between admiration and irritation. You begin noticing something subtle, how resentment doesn't always scream. Sometimes it sighs. A teammate misses a small detail. Another stops staying late. The collective rhythm wavers. Not enough to fail, but enough to feel. You realize excellence can't live in isolation. It echoes. And when one person's rhythm grows too loud, it disturbs the song. So you do what leaders do when logic ends. You create a test. A major project arrives, one that requires collaboration across time zones. You assign it to them, but add a rule. Strict hours, 9 to 5, coordination essential. They agree. The team watches. The first day they arrive at noon, the second closer to 1. On the third, something shifts. They stay overnight, and by dawn the project is done. Perfect. The result stuns everyone, but the rule is broken. You stare at the report, flawless, and feel a strange mix of pride and discomfort. You think, this is brilliance, but it doesn't belong anywhere. You meet with your CEO. He looks at the results, then at you. "Do we discipline or reward?" he asks. You don't answer. He sighs. "Maybe we adapt." The word feels both wise and dangerous. Adaptation saves species, but it also erodes structure. You wonder, can a company survive if its fairness bends too far for one person? Yet can it thrive if it doesn't? A new policy appears, a flexible work agreement. People can choose their hours as long as they deliver. It feels modern, progressive, humane. For a while, harmony returns. But human nature always finds imbalance. Some push the boundary, some lose focus. Meetings become harder to coordinate. The team drifts from alignment to coexistence. The genius, though, flourishes, finally free of judgment. But freedom, too, isolates. The more they detach from the clock, the less connected they feel. Deadlines are met, but communication frays. One small misstep, a missed message, a delay, and a critical error slips through. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to leave a mark. For the first time, their perfection cracks. That night, you stay late again. The office is empty. The lights hum softly overhead. Outside, rain traces the glass. You think about everything, the rules, the people, the quiet wars between discipline and individuality. You realize managing people isn't about enforcing sameness. It's about balancing difference without letting it turn to distance. You wonder when leadership stopped being about command and became about compassion. Maybe it always was. You call them in the next day, not to punish, just to talk. They look tired, maybe from working too hard. You ask, "Do you ever feel lonely?" They blink, caught off guard. Sometimes, they admit, "It's strange. I wanted freedom, but now it feels like no one's walking with me." You nod. Because freedom isn't isolation, you say. It's connection without constraint. They listen, quietly. You see understanding in their eyes, not guilt, but growth. Weeks later, something changes. You arrive early one morning. The office is still dim. You pour your coffee, check your calendar. Then you see them, already there, sitting by the window, headphones on, focused. You smile. They don't see you, but that doesn't matter. You realize they're not early for you. They're early for themselves. The rhythm has shifted, not by rule, but by realization. Time moves forward. The team adapts. The company learns. You notice how culture, like music, needs pauses as much as notes. Too much control kills creativity. Too little destroys coherence. Somewhere between, there's harmony. You start leading differently, not by the clock, but by clarity. Meetings get shorter, conversations deeper. People stop watching the time and start watching each other. Months later, a new hire points at a framed photo on the wall. "Who's that?" they ask. You smile. "That's the one who taught us that rules matter, but people matter more." The new hire nods, half understanding. Maybe one day they'll know. As the evening sun fades, you sit alone in your office. The city lights beginning to bloom outside. You think about everything that's changed, not just policies or hours, but you. The way you see people, the way you measure success. You realize leadership isn't about keeping order. It's about keeping meaning alive in a place that easily forgets it. The room grows quiet. You glance at the clock, 9:17 p.m., the same hour they used to leave. You turn off your monitor, stand, and look once more at the skyline. The city pulses, each window a different life, each rhythm its own truth. You smile faintly and whisper to yourself, maybe it was never about being late or early. Maybe it was about showing up, with purpose. You walk toward the elevator. The hum of machinery fades. Somewhere in another office, someone is still working, chasing their own balance between chaos and creation. You wonder if, somewhere out there, another manager is watching an empty chair and feeling the same quiet conflict you once did. The elevator doors close slowly. Your reflection hovers for a second before dissolving into steel. And as you descend, you can't help but ask yourself, when brilliance doesn't follow the clock, should you move the hands or learn to listen to the silence between the ticks? You sit in your chair and stare at the quiet office. The screens are dim now, the hum of machines replaced by the low murmur of the city outside. For a long moment, you don't move. You just listen to the air conditioner, to the distant sound of footsteps in the hallway, to the kind of silence that only exists after a long day. It's strange how peaceful it feels. Maybe this is what the late genius always loved, the stillness of a world that finally stopped asking for things. You think about how work used to feel when you first started, how everything was urgent, loud, full of noise disguised as importance. Everyone was racing to be seen, to be on time, to prove they were dependable. Back then, success was measured by visibility, not depth. Now, after years of leading people, you've begun to see the irony. The most valuable work rarely announces itself. It happens quietly without spectacle, often when no one's watching. You lean back and look at the ceiling, at the faint shadows of moving light reflected from passing cars. Somewhere above you in another office, someone is still typing. Maybe they're chasing the same sense of meaning you are. You realize how much of leadership isn't about giving direction. It's about staying present long enough to notice the invisible threads that hold everything together. You remember what the genius once said, "I just work differently." It sounded so simple, but now, months later, you understand the complexity behind it. Different isn't defiance, it's perspective. They weren't rejecting rules, they were rejecting sameness. And maybe that's what creativity really is, a refusal to move at a speed set by someone else's clock. Still, rules exist for a reason. You know that. Without rhythm, there's chaos. Without structure, there's drift. But perhaps the greatest mistake leaders make is thinking the rhythm must always be the same. Maybe leadership is about knowing when to change the tempo, when to let one player slow down so the music becomes deeper, not louder. You look at the empty desks and realize how much of work is performance. People show up on time, open their laptops, smile in meetings, hit deadlines. But inside, so many are quietly lost. You've seen it, the exhaustion hidden behind polite laughter, the quiet resignation behind, "I'm good." The late genius, for all their flaws, never hid behind masks. They simply lived their truth, imperfect but authentic. And maybe that's why their lateness bothers you less now. Because in a world full of pretense, authenticity feels disruptive. The thought makes you smile. You glance at the digital clock, 9:48 p.m. You should have gone home hours ago, but something about the emptiness keeps you here. It feels like a confession booth for leaders, a place where you can finally admit that you don't have all the answers, that sometimes managing others isn't about guiding them. It's about learning to let go of control without losing responsibility. You stand and walk toward the window. The city stretches endlessly, lights blinking like a constellation of choices. You wonder how many of those windows hide someone questioning themselves the same way. Maybe leadership is just a chain of people pretending to know what they're doing, all hoping their uncertainty leads to something true. Your reflection looks back at you in the glass. Older, quieter, maybe a little wiser. You think of all the rules you've enforced over the years, the meetings that started exactly on time but went nowhere, the reports delivered early but forgotten by next week. And then you think of moments, unplanned, unscheduled, where someone said something that changed everything. Those moments didn't come from structure, they came from space. You start to wonder if you've spent too much of your life measuring time instead of meaning. Maybe punctuality was never the point. Maybe presence was. There's a difference between being early and being ready. One obeys the clock, the other listens to life. The hum of a cleaning machine passes by the hallway. You hear it echo faintly, a reminder that the world keeps moving, even when you pause. You take another breath. The air smells faintly of coffee and dust and tired ambition. You imagine what tomorrow will bring. Meetings, reports, conversations about efficiency. And somewhere in the middle of it all, the quiet hope that maybe you're building something that lasts longer than the next performance review. You think of the genius again. They've changed, you've noticed. They arrive on time more often now. Not always, but enough. The difference isn't fear, it's understanding. They started mentoring younger staff, teaching them not just the craft, but the curiosity behind it. Their rhythm still isn't like anyone else's, but it blends better now. Like two tempos learning to coexist. You never told them thank you, not directly, but they must know. You remember the first time they showed up early. They didn't say a word, but you could tell it was intentional. They poured coffee, smiled, and started work before anyone arrived. You watched from your office, unseen. It wasn't about compliance, it was connection. For the first time, they weren't proving a point. They were joining the song. Since then, you've noticed how the team feels different. Meetings are quieter, more thoughtful. People listen longer before speaking. There's less competition, more rhythm. The air feels lighter, not because everything's perfect, but because there's trust. You realize culture doesn't change when you rewrite the rules. It changes when people stop needing them to feel safe. Outside, the wind picks up, rustling through the vents. You close your eyes for a moment and think about time again, how it both guides and betrays us. You've lived so much of your life by schedules, school bells, deadlines, calendars, clocks. But the older you get, the more you realize that most of what truly mattered happened between the scheduled moments. The quiet pauses, the unexpected conversations, the long silences that forced understanding. You open your eyes and glance back at your desk. The paperwork waiting there feels less urgent now. You know tomorrow will come with the same noise, the same demands, but maybe you'll meet them differently. You'll listen slower, speak less, watch more. Because sometimes what a team needs isn't another plan. It's permission to breathe. You take one last look at the city before turning off the lights. The office goes dark except for the faint reflection of the skyline. You think of everyone you've led, the rule followers, the rebels, the quiet ones who never spoke unless spoken to. You wonder where they are now. You hope they're thriving, each in their own rhythm. You step into the hallway. The echo of your footsteps follows. As you wait for the elevator, you realize something that feels both heavy and freeing. Leadership isn't about fixing people. It's about seeing them, truly seeing them, and trusting that once they're seen, they'll find their own alignment. You can't teach that. You can only model it. The elevator doors open with a soft chime. You step in. The mirror catches your face again. For a second, you see not a manager, not a boss, but a person trying to make sense of time, purpose, and people. You press the ground floor button and whisper under your breath, maybe being late isn't the sin I thought it was. Maybe indifference is. As the doors close, you think about what tomorrow might bring. Maybe someone will still come in late. Maybe another will leave early. Maybe mistakes will happen, and maybe perfection will too. But none of it will define you anymore. You've learned to find peace in imperfection, to measure success not in hours, but in harmony. The elevator hums softly. The numbers count down. Outside, the city continues its endless rhythm. Different clocks, same humanity. You step out into the cool air, the smell of rain in the distance, and realize something quietly profound. You don't need everyone to arrive on time. You just need them to arrive whole. You walk toward your car. The street lights flicker above. Somewhere behind you, in the office you just left, a single monitor still glows. You smile, knowing who it belongs to. Maybe they'll leave in an hour, maybe two. Maybe it doesn't matter. What matters is that, when they do, they'll close their laptop with the same sense of peace you feel now. And as you drive home, headlights stretching into the wet streets, you can't help but think, maybe leadership isn't about keeping people in rhythm. Maybe it's about teaching them how to hear their own music and still find a way to play together. You don't notice when it happens, the shift from leading a team to watching from a distance. It happens quietly, like seasons changing. One day you're in the middle of the noise, answering questions, making decisions, setting the pace. And then suddenly you're not. The team runs without you. Meetings happen without your voice. The company still moves, still breathes. You realize the world doesn't pause when you step aside. It just finds a new rhythm. You visit the office less now. When you do, you notice how different it feels. There are new faces, new posters on the walls, a new energy in the air. But the essence, somehow it's still there. The culture you helped shape, the quiet understanding that not everyone works the same way, that brilliance wears many faces, that remains. It's strange how legacy doesn't shout. It lingers in the small details. The laughter in hallways, the freedom in someone's eyes, the calm hum of a workplace that learned how to breathe. You pass by your old office. It's occupied now. The desk is rearranged, but you still recognize the view. The late afternoon sun still hits the same spot on the wall. You smile. You remember sitting there counting minutes, chasing order, trying to hold everything together. You remember the tension, the uncertainty, the fear of getting it wrong. You realize now, leadership isn't about not being afraid. It's about caring enough to question yourself anyway. Someone greets you in the hallway. You don't know them, but they know you. You're the one who started the flexible work thing, right? They ask. You nod, amused. It's funny how something that once caused chaos is now just a normal part of life. You ask them how things are going. They say, people seem happier now. We still argue sometimes, but it feels more human. You thank them and walk away quietly. On your way out, you pass the wall where employee photos hang. You stop at one picture. The genius, no longer the late one. They're standing with their new team, smiling. You stare for a long time. It feels like looking at a chapter you've already read, but never stopped thinking about. You remember the arguments, the late nights, the moments when you doubted yourself. You remember the question that haunted you for months. Should I have kept them or should I have let them go? Now you know the answer was never about keeping or losing. It was about learning. Both of you did. You step outside. The air feels different, lighter, cooler. The world keeps spinning. Traffic hums in the distance. A street musician plays softly near the cafe across the road. You pause, listening. The melody is imperfect, raw, honest. It reminds you of work, how it was never about perfection, just persistence. You walk for a while without direction. You think about how much of life is spent trying to synchronize with others. The calendars, the deadlines, the clocks. You think about how often you've judged people for being out of rhythm when maybe they were just hearing a different song. You wonder how many good ideas, how many beautiful things were lost simply because they didn't fit into a schedule. It's late afternoon now. You find yourself near a park. People sit on benches, phones in hand, lost in worlds that exist elsewhere. A child runs past, chasing a kite that keeps falling. Every time it drops, they laugh and try again. You watch them for a long time. You can't remember the last time you allowed yourself to fail so freely. Somewhere along the way, adulthood turned mistakes into shame. But here, watching this small human fall and rise and fall again, you remember what freedom used to feel like. A breeze moves through the trees, scattering leaves like confetti. You close your eyes and breathe in deeply. You realize you've been holding your breath for years, through deadlines, meetings, expectations. Always holding, always performing. You exhale slowly, as if releasing every unspoken pressure. Maybe that's what growing older really means. Not learning more, but letting go of what no longer needs to be held so tightly. You think about time again. How strange it is that we measure life in hours, when its most important moments never obey time. The best conversations, the quiet realizations, the sudden laughter, they happen outside the clock. You start to wonder if humanity's greatest illusion wasn't eternity, but punctuality. We built entire worlds around being on time, yet we keep missing the moments that matter. You check your watch. You smile. For once, it doesn't matter what it says. You're exactly where you need to be. The sky darkens slowly. The lights of the city flicker to life, one by one, like tiny awakenings. You think about the people inside those glowing rectangles of light, each living their own version of work, of purpose, of struggle. Somewhere, someone is still staring at an empty chair, wondering what fairness means. Somewhere else, another person is staying late, trying to prove their worth. Maybe it's all connected. The lateness, the effort, the search for belonging. Maybe everyone's just trying to be seen in a world that measures everything except understanding. You walk back towards your car, passing the same street where years ago you used to rush for meetings. Now you walk slower. You notice things. The color of the pavement after rain, the tired smile of a stranger, the faint smell of roasted coffee drifting through the air. The world feels wider, more patient. Maybe it was always this way. You were just too busy chasing punctuality to notice. At a red light, you stop. A group of employees cross the street together, laughing. You catch fragments of their conversation, something about deadlines, late nights, teamwork. You see a bit of yourself in them, the urgency, the hope, the desire to matter. You want to tell them that it's okay, that they don't have to do everything right or on time to make something meaningful. But you stay quiet. Some lessons can't be told. They have to be lived. When you reach your car, you sit for a while without starting the engine. The world outside glows in that perfect in-between of dusk and night. You think about all the people who taught you something without meaning to. The ones who tested your patience, who broke your rules, who made you rethink what leadership really is. You realize that maybe the purpose of managing others was never to control them, but to be changed by them. The thought lingers. You lean your head back and close your eyes. You hear faint music from somewhere nearby. It's soft, distant, the kind that carries on even when you stop listening. It feels like a metaphor for work, for life, something that continues without needing you to conduct it. You smile, and then a question forms in your mind. Not heavy, not urgent, just curious. How many moments have I missed because I was too focused on the clock? How many connections slipped by while I was keeping time instead of keeping presence? You don't have the answers, but maybe that's okay. Maybe some questions are meant to stay open, to remind you that growth isn't a finish line. It's a rhythm that keeps unfolding. You finally start the car. The headlights cut through the dim street. The city moves with you, pulsing, breathing. Somewhere far above, in one of those glowing towers, a small light stays on late into the night. Maybe it's the genius. Maybe it's someone new. Maybe it's just a reflection of what you've learned to see, that every late light is a story still being written. And as you drive into the dark, with the hum of the engine steady beneath you, you whisper to yourself, not as a manager, not as a leader, but as a person, maybe being late is just another way of arriving right on time. You drive without music this time. The silence feels heavier, but not uncomfortable. You've grown to understand that silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the presence of yourself. Every red light becomes a small pause for reflection. Every turn feels like a decision you've already learned to make with ease. The streets are emptier now. The city that once demanded your attention seems to hum quietly in gratitude, as if saying, "You've done enough for today." You think about how strange it is that we spend so many years chasing recognition, yet the moments that truly change us often happen when no one is watching. You stop by a small diner you used to visit back when work consumed your life. The same waitress is still there, older now, but her smile is exactly as you remember. She doesn't ask why you've been gone so long. She just pours you coffee, sets it down gently, and says, "Still late as always, huh?" You laugh softly. It's a kind of laughter that doesn't hide fatigue anymore. It accepts it. As you sip your coffee, you glance around. Two students share a laptop at the next table, whispering ideas, eyes glowing with the kind of passion you once carried like fire. A delivery driver checks his phone, probably on his fifth job of the night. A woman scrolls through emails, still half at work. Life doesn't slow down. It just changes shapes. You realize that maybe lateness isn't rebellion. Maybe it's just humanity trying to breathe inside a machine that never stops ticking. You remember something your mentor once told you. People don't burn out because they work too much. They burn out because they forget why they started. You take another sip. The bitterness of the coffee feels grounding, real. You think about purpose, not as a goal to chase, but as a quiet reason to keep showing up. The waitress walks by again. "Still working in that big building?" she asks. You shake your head. "Not anymore." She nods like she already knew. "Good," she says almost kindly. "You used to look tired when you came here. Tonight you look peaceful." You smile again, because maybe for the first time in years that's true. You're not rushing to the next thing. You're not calculating what tomorrow demands. You're simply here. A person sitting in a quiet diner, drinking coffee that's gone a little cold, watching the world carry on. And it's enough. Outside, the rain begins, gentle, hesitant, like it's testing the earth's patience. You watch the reflections ripple on the glass, the streetlights blurring into liquid gold. Everything looks softer in the rain, like the city itself is exhaling. You think about all the people still inside offices right now, still chasing perfection, still trying to arrive on time. You wish you could tell them that time is an illusion, that what really matters is rhythm, finding the pace that lets your heart and your work coexist. But you know everyone has to learn that on their own, often the hard way. The rain gets heavier. You stand, leave a tip, and head for the door. Before you go, you glance at the clock behind the counter. It's past midnight. You laugh quietly to yourself. Late again. Always late. But for once, it doesn't feel wrong. It feels right. Perfectly, imperfectly right. You step into the rain without an umbrella. The air is cool against your skin. Every drop a reminder that you're alive. Still learning. Still arriving. The city lights shimmer through the drizzle, and in that soft blur of gold and gray, you find something you didn't know you were missing. Peace. You whisper to no one in particular. Maybe there's no such thing as being late. Maybe we just all arrive at our own time. And with that thought, you walk into the night, not to catch up, not to prove anything, but simply to continue.